So first of all, I must say that I was very fortunate to have parents who basically in our home, we were allowed to express ourselves and we were actually encouraged to speak freely. The only condition my parents said was that we must listen to other people when they speak. We must respect them, but otherwise we are free to express ourselves. So I was very privileged in that way. In fact, when I visited homes where people did not speak, and that happens in many homes where women sometimes don't speak because of cultural reasons, or young girls don't speak, or even children don't speak. I was actually taken aback, and many times I was actually told that you're a bit too talkative for a girl, or you talk too much for a woman, or this is not good for you. But my parents said, even in those homes, I was to speak my mind, so long as I said, I respected the people and listened to their opinions objectively. My father, in fact, particularly said to us, because I also have sisters, that we were just as good as our brothers, and that we were destined to achieve good things. My father, many times as a child, joked and told me, you are going to be the first female Chief Justice in Kenya. Of course, at the time, I didn't, very young, I didn't even know what a Chief Justice did. But I knew that great people, great women can be a Chief Justice of a country. And so when it came to picking a career, it was not difficult for me to pick law. I did not even think that I wanted to be a Chief Justice, but because my father said it over and over again, I believed that I was destined for great things. I believed that the career that I wanted to go into was law. I never considered other careers. And when I came to pick my career, actually, when I decided to do law, my father was very excited, and he had a friend who was a judge in the Court of Appeal. And one afternoon he said, let's go meet my friend. Sometimes I think they colluded, because his friend said to me, this is the best career. You do not want to consider anything else. And so I listened to his friend and applied to go to university, and I studied law at the university. I also have to say, in terms of my background and my childhood, my parents did sacrifice, of course, to pay for my education from primary to secondary and any part of my university education. I was also very lucky because I did work hard, and I got a scholarship thereafter to complete my undergraduate and my postgraduate law degrees. So clearly, I do recognize that my childhood and my background I had a lot of support, which many young girls, and indeed even children in this part of the world, sometimes do not have an opportunity to enjoy. Basically, for a partner in any law firm, there are various processes and requirements that you really have to fulfill or undertake before that promotion can come in. And I was not special, so I did go through that. And of course, it's a little bit more detailed, but if I can just summarize them, the key things that they look for before you become a partner in a law firm, and that happened to myself as well, is you must go through a process of first becoming a lawyer. And then in Kenya, we call them advocates, or when you're admitted to the bar, we call them associates. So you're a junior associate. And after you work for a couple of years, you then become a senior associate. After that, you then become a partner, a salaried partner. And then, of course, if you complete other processes, you then become an equity partner. But typically the things that they were looking for and which they were assessing or evaluating for myself, just like they do for other young lawyers before this promotion, was one, the technical skills. So they check, obviously, can you draft well? Because a lawyer must draft well. Can you express yourself verbally well? Can you express yourself well in writing? Can you undertake research well? Do you have advocacy skills? What are your turnaround times? Because, the work of a lawyer is a lot of pressure, and turnaround is very important for the client. And then really your ability to handle complex matters. Of course, they become more complex as you progress in the career, but at that level, you're expected to be able to handle reasonably complex matters. So in terms of technical skills, those are really the general things that they look for. The second thing that they look for, which is very important for anybody working in a law firm and who wants to be a partner, and I had to go through that, was really whether you can work with a team. So that's teamwork. So really, whether you can interact well with members of your team and members of the larger team of the firm, and that involves, your support staff and the technical or the legal team that you deal with. and in that area, whether you can indeed, even at that level, start building capacity for the younger advocates. And really, what is your attitude to work and your interpersonal skills when you relate with members of the team that you work with and the larger team of the firm? The second thing that they look for, which is very important because that's our bread and butter, is client care. So there is an assessment which I had to undergo and other people had to undergo, really to check how do you relate with clients. Our clients technically pay our salaries, our dividends. So they were checking, can you interact well with clients? What feedback have you got from clients, whether it's positive or negative? They have to assess that. And very, very importantly, whether you keep your clients informed. If you check globally, one of the big complaints about advocates or lawyers all over the world is that, clients complain that we don't keep them informed about their matters regularly. So that is one big thing that they check when they look at the client care. The other thing is business development. Obviously, we enjoy practice, but this is a business, so we do have to make a profit. So they check really your ability to bring in new business, and they had to check that with me. Was I able to bring new business? Was I able to engage business partners externally and even internally? And really, was I able to participate, or was our lawyers able to participate in publication? So at my law firm, we have a newsletter that is periodic, which we do every quarter. And we have also news alerts that basically we issue on topical issues that are current and that clients really need to understand. So the issue of thought leadership, even at that young level. The fifth one, and perhaps the last one, was just value addition. Everybody wants you to add value to the business and indeed for clients. So they had to assess to what extent really am I adding value to the firm in terms of creativity, in terms of innovation, and whether really I was able to adhere to the firm's policies in terms of confidentiality, in terms of ensuring that there's equality and fairness in the way I interact with the people that I dealt with. So really those are the general aspects that they considered in my journey. And if I could just summarize them very quickly, the first one is technical skills, obviously. Then there is the teamwork, client care, business development, value and value addition. Thank you. So if I were to pick the biggest, I would say it's really the issue of what I like calling work-life integration. Some people call it work-life balance, but I like the people who call it work-life integration, because for me, it's really about integrating both, because you can't have one or the other if you want to succeed in either. So really, the issue of work-life integration has been an issue because, traditionally, the way we are made to think is that we have to conform to what is seen as normal or what is the norm. And whereas we know that employees, including women, sometimes abuse certain opportunities like flexible hours, majority of people don't. Women don't. And this is a myth, actually. And I always say that, there are many tools that, out there in terms of innovation, in terms to help us measure performance. And so the idea that, if you let women work flexible hours, they will be thinking of their children or cooking the whole day is a myth. And it's very unfortunate, because really, if you accommodate women can perform just as well as men, they can innovate just as well as men, and they can develop the business just as well as men. Thank you. So really the issue of work-life balance or work-life integration is the big one for me. Yes, so that's a very interesting question, and I often reflect about it because there's been a lot of debate about whether women work harder than men, and indeed in some situations they do. But because as I grew older, I discovered that my paradigm was not the paradigm of everybody. I knew that there were stereotypes out there, there was bias, there were generalizations about women. And so when I started to work, I knew I had to work so hard, because hard work produces good results. And if you produce good results, there's opportunity to grow, even to partnership. I also knew that I had to do over and above what was expected from me. And therefore, it almost did not matter what the men were doing. I focused and I said, I will do the work so well. I will ensure that it's excellent to the best of my ability. I will ensure that I pay attention to detail, and I will ensure that I do over and above what is expected of me. And I believe that every employer, if you give that back, will support you. And I think many women work extremely hard because they know there's so much against them. So I believe I worked hard. I'm sure there are many men, and I know many men who work hard in my farm and other farms. But because I knew the odds are there against women, I just buried myself into work and ensured that I worked as hard as I could. And because of that, I believe that I was privileged to be promoted and to be able to grow into partnership and even in the managing partner role that I currently occupy. So yes, because women, the way the world is traditionally very biased, women often feel guilty. We work so hard, but even when you want to take time to undertake some personal matter or to do something, maybe attend a recital for your children. When a lady says, I'm going to my child's recital, people then say, pick one. But when a man says, despite the fact that you're working just as hard as the man, or maybe more, they say, what a lovely father, he attends his children's events. So because that bias was there, I knew I had really to work extremely hard to prove myself and to be able to grow into partnership. Thank you. So to be able to balance that, obviously you need support, as you say correctly, and that support needs to come from the workplace and also from the home. So because you have to integrate both, I said you can't do either one or the other because you want to succeed, even in your personal life and as well as your career, you then look for support system. And this has helped many women, a support from family and support even from friends and colleagues. So, there were times when, even when my child was much younger and she had to go to school, when I asked my parents, because I lived so far, I worked a bit far from where her school was, I said to them, how about you pick her from school? And they were delighted because they are elderly and, spend time with a grandchild who taught them how to use technology a little bit better. And that gave me good support. So I have that support from family. I've had great support. I've also had support from some of my friends and even some of my partners who will then tell me, okay, you go attend the recital and I will let you know what was decided at this meeting. And that has been good support. So I've had good support from family, good support from friends, and good support from my colleagues and partners. In terms of balancing, there are some things also that have worked very well for me. One of them is really applying legal project management technology. So when you get, sometimes often there's a lot of pressure in our firm and transactions come and clients, there's a lot of pressure from clients on turnaround time. So when we get those sorts of projects, then you really have to have proper project management techniques to be able to, to impress the client and hopefully get repeat business. So some of the things that I do when we get that kind of work in just to help me balance is to first understand the scope of work in terms of embracing project management techniques. What is the scope of work? What is the schedule? What resources do we have? What gaps do we have? What risks do we have? What are the client's expectations in terms of managing the project? And what is the turnaround time? So those are very, very critical things that help me balance, because once you get that management technique for the project well, then you're able to balance other things because you can keep your eye on the price of the project. The other thing that I've done, apart from embracing legal project management techniques and having a good support system, is really technology. Technology helps a lot. It helps in the office to do a lot of repetitive work. There's technology that will help you turn around work very, very easily. And even at my private life, there's technology. If you want to shop, if you want to pay for things, you can do that online. You can use technology to do that. So really embracing technology helps us balance our work well. Then prioritizing your work is also very important. A lot of work comes in. You have to be able to sit down and say, when is this work expected? What must I do? And I am big on to-do lists. And if you don't prioritize your work, then something will fall off. And so prioritizing work is very, very important. I've also learned, and this was a difficult one for me, to delegate. I used to do a lot of things, almost paranoid that something would go wrong. But I have realized that if you build capacity in your teams, then there are some things that you can delegate, especially the things that don't need your direct intervention. I did talk also about a good support system, so I'll not repeat that here, but I'd like to say also, to be able to balance your work, you must try and enjoy what you're doing. So I really enjoy what I do. I really enjoy working at Oraro Company with a great team, because if you enjoy what you do, then you're able to balance it well and to integrate both work and family and personal life well. Thank you. So first of all, I'd like to, in advising women, I always say the first thing you must remember is that you're professionally qualified. What that means is that yes, you can become partner. So you have to believe in yourself, because if you don't believe in yourself, then you suffer from things like imposter syndrome. Do I really deserve to be promoted? Am I here on merit? Is somebody doing me a favor? Is this a token? But if you really first accept that, yes, I'm qualified, and what I need to do is to continuously educate myself, build my capacity, and believe that I deserve to be here, then basically you will not sabotage yourself and you will be able to grow. So that's the most important thing. You must believe in yourself and you must improve yourself. Then the other thing that I say is you must work hard. There's no shortcut. You know, people have said all manner of things, don't work hard, work this way. There's no shortcut. You must work hard. You must do over and above what is expected of you by your organization or your supervisor, to put it simply. You must pay attention to detail, and you must produce excellent work, because if you produce excellent work, then obviously you're able to impress the partnership and you're able to grow in your career. The other thing I say is perception is reality. So even if you're qualified and you portray yourself as a person who is not qualified, then again, if I can say, you're self-sabotaging, because if you don't believe in yourself, then the impression that you create is what people will take. So you have to remember always that perception is reality. The other thing I'd like to say is keep your eye on the prize or the goal. You know, every organization periodically, whether it's annually, biannually, has some strategy plan. You cannot run an organization without some strategic objectives or plans. Therefore, even as an individual, you must understand, what does the firm expect of somebody who wants to grow into partnership? What strategy do I need to adopt to be able to do what is expected of me, not just the bare minimum? And once you are able to keep your eye on that prize and have your own strategic plan for your growth, then you will grow in your career. A tough one I tell people also, young ladies, is that you must not take criticism personally. Take criticism seriously and objectively. I like what one author said once: you do not have to love the teacher to embrace the lesson. Sometimes the criticism is necessary. And perhaps just two more is that you must make connections and leverage them. So I tell ladies that it's important that you have mentors to guide you in this profession. We were guided by some great women and men in our careers. You need role models, people who look like you, who tell you, yes, you can. When you see them, you can dream, because it's possible. And of course, you need a champion, somebody who can speak for you even when you're not there, somebody who can say, if I can say Jane, for example, yes, you can give Jane this work because Jane is reliable and I know she will be able to do it because I work well with her. And for example, her turnaround time is very good. So that's very important. And you obviously, so that is for the mentors, for the role models, and the sponsors, or some people call them champions. And as you grow in your career, you need somebody who's a little bit hard, and that's coach. Your coach is able to be a little bit rough on you and look at your strengths and your weaknesses and analyze them and critically tell you where the gaps are for you to improve. And then finally, I tell women, do not be afraid to take your space at the table. You are qualified, you deserve to be there. So take your place, sit, lean in, and be confident that there are great things for you to achieve in this great profession. Okay, so many times I've reflected on this because, as you grow, you think, what am I going to do? Am I just, a traditional lawyer, working, profits. And I've thought, really, beyond law, what can I do? So one of the things that I do is I teach currently, and I have shared that with many people. But over the years, I have discovered that apart from the technical teaching of students, there's a lot more that I need to do. And I'll share with you a story. One of my students recently asked me to do a reference for them. They were going to do their postgraduate qualification. And I asked her, so tell me about, what subjects did I teach you? What did you think? And she said, yes, you taught me constitutional law. And I said to her, so, what was the most interesting thing about constitutional law? And she said, many things in terms of, what was going on. And we were just about to have a new constitution then. That was many, many years ago, over 10 years ago. And she said, but the part that you taught me that had most impact was that you walked into class, you had so much confidence, you told us that we were destined for great things, and you believed in us. And she said, I sat there, a young girl from the village, very rural, remote part of Kenya. And I thought, really, do I even deserve to be here? Am I even good enough to be here? And, such stories make me wonder sometimes that, beyond just the traditional teaching that I have done, or the traditional mentoring that I have done, I need to mentor more in terms of, even young lawyers, young students, women who don't perhaps believe in themselves enough, or who don't believe that they belong to the table, so to speak. And so, in my after law, I would like to focus a little bit more than I have done, just to make sure that young lawyers, young ladies are able to reach that potential. So I would also like, whether law or non-law, be engaged more in the community. And as I said, when you talk to young girls, in my country and even in other parts of Africa, many times you meet women who, especially from the more remote parts of Kenya, who don't even believe that they will ever go anywhere. And when you just are able to contribute, even in terms of just paying fees in a government school, which is not that much, you're able to change somebody's life significantly. I mean, as women, we've talked about educating a girl and the impact it has on community. And then beyond the academic education, it's just about paying fees, just making these young girls believe that they can achieve things, because they haven't seen people who have achieved things. Like the young girl told me, was my student, I've never seen a woman speak like this. So just to encourage those people and commit more time in terms of just helping them believe in themselves. One other thing that I would like to say is, we always talk about telling women, take your space at the table. And as I think and as I grow a little bit older, I say, some women cannot even think about taking their place at the table because they do not have the privilege or opportunity that some of us have had. So really, we need to expand this table. And I'd like to participate in the debate of expanding that table to think beyond what it is traditionally, and not just pushing women, take your place, sit with men, achieve what you need to achieve, but perhaps say, can that table look different? And perhaps achieve more than it is achieving currently. I feel that, beyond law, I need to give back and support. And I need to do that more at a community level than I'm able to do now, because, there are many stories of young people who, if you just take the time to educate them, traditionally and non-traditionally, will achieve greater things than we have. And really, I feel that it is important in life to give back and to be able to be a blessing to the generations that are coming, because there are great things that they will achieve that even we haven't achieved. And really, the success in life is for people coming behind us to do far much better than we have been able to do.